Good morning, everybody. This is WINDEV US webinar number 161 with myself, Glenn Rathke, Wolfgang, and Pete Halstead. We're going to be presenting web services and how you can use them to enhance your programs, what you can use them for, and exactly how to build them. It's a three-part series that we'll be going through. I'm going to ask someone to, Glenn or somebody, to watch the questions over here on the side. But we appreciate y'all being here. This is one of the first ones that is also that we're promoting from WXPerts, the experts, and WINDEV US both together. There's been an announcement just kind of up front, get that out of the way. We've been pleased to announce that WXPerts has assumed the role of distributorship for the PC products here in the U.S. And if you need any help with it, feel free to email windev-us or sales@windev-us.com, and we'll go from there and help you out the best way you can. But bear with us, since we're fairly new at this. We got to figure out a few things as we go along. So my name is Andy Stapleton. Been at WINDEV now and WebDev and mobile since about version 15, 16, and have done quite a bit, learned quite a bit about it. So what we had done previously quite a while ago was in the initial release of when web services in 16 or so, and there's probably a release before that, but 16 or so, to build web services directly from the product. I'd put together a few little videos on how to do it at that time. And things have certainly changed since then. Okay? So the thing that we got to kind of look at is okay, what has been the changes since version then from them until now? How much easier it is to build web services, what exactly is a web service, and how we're going to utilize that in our desktop if we want to, our mobile if we wish, or send it out to other people out there that wish to get data from us. We live more and more in a data-driven communication environment in the world today, so we need to make sure that we're keeping up with this, and we're dealing with that communication issues, especially if we're working in an environment that requires that, where we may not in our own personal, but if we're in a business environment, we certainly need to do it. Now, some of the areas where web services came into play over the years, the term itself it's a standardized way of integrating some web application using SOAP, XML, and a WSDL, and utilizes the internet backbone to transfer the data using XML. Fairly easy, fairly straightforward. Basically, you make a request saying, I need this information, and boom, they send you back an XML stream with that information. Then you can do with it what you want. Now, that's just the simplistic terms of exactly what that is. Other than that, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to worry about as far as that's concerned. Where we kind of take this further is let's play a few bits of what if, what can we do, or how does it benefit us? There's a lot of times where I have some very complicated database systems dealing with businesses that are proprietary, businesses that may have security requirements in dealing with that. Let's say a medical system with our HIPAA laws in the U.S. All kinds of things like this. So you want to be able to present the data or give people the data without necessarily exposing how you put it together underneath the covers in your database, because your other options, as far as talking with any other system out there is to say, okay, well, here's a user ID and password to my database. Go ahead and see what you can do. Well, that opens up quite a few problems. Number one is that if they manage to get access to add, change, or delete records, then they can screw up your data, and you're sitting out there going, have no idea how it happened. By using the web services or REST and things like that that's out there, you can present the data you want them to see in the format you want them to see it. That's the biggest part. The second deal is dealing with mobile applications, and this is where this three-part series will end up starting up another set of series, is dealing with a mobile application. You can certainly develop, as Pete has shown, a web application that will work both on mobile as well as browser. They work fine, unless you're in the places where your mobile device either costs more, they do it by time. There are certain places that they charge you by the download moments, or you're in a area where the internet itself or wireless itself to you is spotty at best, slow, things like this. So what you want to do is you leave the office, you want to take that data with you. If you can access and send it somewhere, great. If you can't, you want to store it there until you get back. So as an example, you're a delivery service and you've got a route that you're going to send a bunch of deliveries on. So as you leave, you've got a tablet there with the software on there, and as you leave the office, everything is already on the tablet for you to go about your route delivering whatever goods you're delivering. Okay. Second part about it is if you turn around and as you're out there, if the internet is available, or you can do it through the phone interface, a GSM or one of the cellular interfaces, then you can still send the data back automatically or get additional changes as you go through things, so you don't really have a problem that way. That'll kind of take care of issues for you. The rest of the time it can be stored right there on the device, and you can continue it on and move along without any problems, okay? Now, the rest of it here is we're going to talk about how to build one, start one up in the program, everything like that, and build a web service from scratch. I use a cloud database is what I use, and I've got it off of Amazon. So I'm using Postgres on Amazon to do this, and the little database is something we've had a long time ago. It was a class test database that I had up there that we had already had some people looking at and working with in a little project I put together a while back. So the class test database has only got a couple, 2 or 3 tables in it. And you can see, let's put this over here so you can see what we're working with here. So we've got inventory, we got members, we got order detail, order header, and that's about it. And that's what we're going to work with on this development of this web service. And we're going to be putting these items in and creating the web service from that database. So you will be able to access it, play with it when you get the source, do what you want with it. It's not really a live database from any standpoint. So any data in there you can do as you wish with it. Couple things when you talk about a web service, when you're creating a web service, you've got a couple of things that you need to keep in mind when you work with them. Number one is that when you deal with a web service itself, there is what they call a WSDL, a WSDL, which is basically the definition of the web service itself. You need to be able to present that properly so that way they know what data and data types that you're receiving back. And that's what we're going to go through. We're going to set up all the initial part of the web service today, and then in the next session that we do on this, the part 2, is we'll get into developing, actually getting the data from that and presenting it out how we want it presented. And then the final deal is how to get it installed and running on a WAS server that you should have. One of the things that I really like about web services that that a lot of people don't see is that if you run, say, a PHP site, or somebody else has a PHP site, or something that's going to do the presentation of the data, I can run this on a WAS server, and literally you could have several hundred people accessing it, because it's only open for the instance of getting the data and bringing them back to the presentation. It is not like a website which is up until it goes down. You don't have connections more than a few seconds at a time, and we'll be able to show you what that does. So let's get started with starting up the creation of the web server itself, and I'm going to do a new, and I'm going to create a new project. And the project, we'll call it class test web service. Okay. So the next deal, nothing there. Now here's the choices we've got, whether it's a Windows or Linux. We go through this, but we need to make sure that we've got the correct proper deal, which is web service. Now I am developing this in WINDEV. You can certainly develop it in WebDev too, if you have WebDev and not WINDEV, but I like using WINDEV to create the web services. It seems to be, it just fits me better. I just like it better. But there's no real difference between the two. So if you have WebDev and not WINDEV, you can certainly use it to do the same thing that I'm doing now. So we're going to choose web service. Go ahead. We're going to use the SCM. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use my SCM so I don't lose anything. I don't usually use a charter. We'll leave it on English. We're going to use an existing database that's out there, and we want to say, do we need to do that? Well, we're going to import from our database there and create the analysis. This is Postgres, and I use PG Data is my connection, and I'll put in the server information later. And we'll not want to, well, let me go back here. I got to turn this off. Went the wrong direction. I guess you're going to make me do it anyway. Okay, fine. Again, database class test. And there we go. Oh, wrong password, Andy. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's try this again. All right. We will not use one for the moment. I'll get that set up in a minute. We need to get through the other part anyway. Okay. So we're going to add it to our SCM, put it in there, things like it, and we are now done. Okay. So now we've got the initial starting of the SCM itself. The thing that we need to do now is set up our project area to be able to access everything. And I'm going to need to restart the program here. Okay. part of what we need to do here in the element code is where the primary things, this is how you present it out to the public. Everything that you put here inside the project code is what is distributed in the WSDL. This is what is shown on the WSDL when you look at a WSDL and things like that. So what you put here is what gets generated as part of the WSDL to be along with the actual global calls to set up things. So in here we've got, like I said, we've got database tables for as examples. We've got database tables for members, order detail, and order header. So what I do at this point is, however you wish to do it, but what I do at this point is I usually take the database layout and I create a local structure to match. Okay? And the local structure is what is shown, or is what is generated as part of the WSDL. Member ST is structure. And all of these now I change to is int, is string. We go from there. Now, here's where we need to have a short discussion. Now, I've created the structure, and this would be one of the elements in the WSDL that gets redisplayed back to you, okay? And part of this deal is, and this is where things can change for you, where you can make things a little bit better. If we're talking about what we want to display to people, well, we may not want to see member sysid actually be getting sent back. So we can call that member ID instead. And all we're doing now is moving the member sysid into that and sending it back. Now, they know it as member ID. We know it as an internal member sysid. Same thing with member name or address. You can change any of those if you have a different methodology of how you store your data, the field names for how you store data. You can make them more English or more language sensitive by changing the structure, and then when you actually code it to change it or code it to send the data, then we're just going to move field to field instead. Now, understand that any of these web services is all XML based. That means it is case sensitive. Being that it's case sensitive, that anything that you type in here with a humpback or upper lowercase must, if you're using any of the functions within WINDEV to move data in there automatically by label or by field to field, they must have the same case. That usually is not the case for WINDEV for the most part, but when you're dealing with web services and things like that, it is the same. It must be the same. So you got to make sure that if you're using such a function as the less than equal to move the data or something like that, that you understand it won't move member ID lowercase to member ID in this method. So what we're doing right now is we're going to go ahead and create each one of these layouts for each one of the sections. And so now I've got that, and I'm going to go ahead and create the order detail. And put all the fields in it that's there. And this is where I start looking at changing to be more English, because I'm going to put this one in here, and you see I got an order detail sysid and is int. And I got several what we call system IDs. These are IDs that the user will never see, but it's things that we have. Now let's talk about dates for the moment. XML is fairly stringent about their dates. We get the date back basically as a string from WinDev or WebDev, which is all zeros if it's empty, or the actual date, 2016, 01, 01 type thing. When I'm doing the XML, 99% of the time, if I'm not sure whether the date will be there or not, I will change that to string instead. It will allow me then to move the string value, whether it's all zeros or an actual date, to whomever is getting it, and they can redecipher it back as a valid date at that point. All you have to do is tell them that, yes, the created date is a string, it's year, month, day. If it's all zeros, then it's empty. So you can set that up and do it that way, and you won't have to worry about the XML giving you a hiccup because of an invalid date, because it'll give you an error saying that it doesn't respect the XSD diagram because the date is all zeros instead of what it should be. So this is the reason why I do that, and it makes life easier on me as I move it forward. And so we're going to do this on every one of them. Okay, we got that one. Now let's do the last one. And then we'll go with what we call in our return structure of what we're trying to do here right now. Leave it up to this morning to make the phone ring all the time. So our last table is order header. So okay, so now we got that. And we'll put in the data for this as well. Okay, is int. Is string. And we move forward. Now, when we develop things, we look at the practicality of it, not necessarily the academic version of things, because we want things to work right off the bat, first time without any major problems. So we don't necessarily keep everything 100% accurate, like the dates being strings instead of days. So just keep that in mind. The final thing that I do, that I have these structures, because these are kind of the receiving structures. These would be the record structures that be sent back. Well, you've also got to look at returning errors, returning issues, things like this. And so what happens here is you'll have web services out there. I've got one called Pace that literally, unless you're tracing the web service through a product like Wireshark or something like this, you have no idea what the error is. You have absolutely none whatsoever. So what I try to do for people that are using the web services that I built or that I build is I try to give them a little bit more information than, oops, you got no data back, so obviously there was a problem. So we do a return structure. Okay. Now, we're going to do this 3 different ways. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I want to make sure that I've got everything that I want. So I'm going to have a mem return structure, and what that's going to have is a ret val in there is boo, and that is whether or not it was successful or not. The second thing is ret message. That's any message that I want to send back. Okay? So now what I've done here is said, okay, did you get a result true or false, and what is the message you got back? Well, if you actually got data in the deal, you don't need to worry about that, but you've got it here. So the last thing I want to do now is I'm going to do a member record. Is member structure. Okay? I'm sorry, is array of member structure. Okay, so let's explain this part to you just for a moment. I'm going to send you back however many members when you do your query for what you want, whether that be one or all of them, as an example. Well, the two things I want to do is if you send me a request that that basically has no data, or you send me a request that causes an error in the SQL statement or something like this, then I need to return back to you that ret val was false. There's either no data or you got an invalid SQL statement, something like this. So that's what the ret val and the ret message is for. That allows that to happen. Okay. Then the member record as array of member structure there allows me to say, okay, here's the number of records that you requested back. Now I repeat this thing, the same thing for the order header, order history, and then I'm going to do a combo of all three. So now we're going to do order header. Okay. Be data, not record, sorry. We'll change this one to data. Data is collections, record is a single record. That's the way I work it. And then we got the order detail, return structure, and I'm going to have one more. Now that gives me any of the headers and any of the details if I want to, but why would I need to go back and get everything twice? So I go get all the headers, then I go back one at a time and fetch the details for it. Why do that when I can get them together? So what I can do here is now I can put them together. So let's kind of go over this because this is about we're going to put in one more piece here and then we're about done for this session. What I've done here is allowed you to have the record structure that you're going to be able to use for your header, your detail, and your members. So you've got the record structures. That's how you're going to deal with it in your end user program, which we'll put one together for that as well. Then I have the return structures. The return structures has the value of whether it's true or false that you returned anything at all. It has a message that you can say no data retrieved, or here's the error that occurred and the reason why you didn't get what you thought you were supposed to get. And I do that for each one of them. And then the final one is that if I'm wanting the entire setup for give me invoice 1, 2, 3 and all of the details that go with 1, 2, 3, well, literally I can do that here with the select statement and send it all back as one load. Now, one of the things we need to keep in mind is the size or the amount of your data. You don't want to pull back huge amounts of data. One, there is a limitation on the XML. Number two is that the speed is the issue that you can get into as far as how it's being presented and how much is being presented. And the third part is if you're dealing with a mobile device, obviously you have a memory issue, or you could have a size issue that you could store or put on a specific device, say a phone or something like this. So always keep in mind that when I'm looking at, and I always keep in mind when I'm looking at putting two sets of an array in a return structure, I'm in essence returning one group of that, not a bunch of them. I'm not going to return all the header details and all the headers at the same time. All I'm going to do is return one header and all of its detail, or two headers and all of its detail. That's about the max that I'm going to return in dealing with this. Otherwise, I will use the other two and manipulate it more succinctly inside my program that way. So now what we've done here is we've set up, in essence, all of the structure that we're going to be returning back to whomever is calling our web service. And the final bit is well, how do you program the whole thing? Well, everything is based upon global procedure calls. So all of the items that you're going to allow an end user to call from your web service has to have a global procedure. So there are two global procedures that I put in. One of them is, and how you name this is going to be, so I'm going to call this class test procedures. So that's the procedures that I'm going to allow the end user to call. And then I usually have another set of procedures I call my internal procedures. Those are the procedures that I'm going to use within the product itself, or within the web server itself, that they will not be able to discuss at all. Okay? So they'll be able to get to anything we build here, which we may well, we're going to put in there fetch members as an example. We'll put in a fetch order headers. And we'll put in a fetch order details. And finally, we're going to put a fetch order header detail, the last combo. Okay? That's what we're going to do so far. We're going to get into building each one of those procedures in our next session, where we're going to be looking at passing parameters, what kind of parameters you can pass, things like this, you know, what all kinds of items and things that you can deal with within the parameters passing at that point. I'm going to look for some questions right now. I don't know, is Glenn or Wolfgang or Pete, can you see the questions that are over here on the right-hand side as well?
Yeah, the problem is everybody's kind of been using it as a comment board, Andy. If you'll, I can't clear it. It must be needing you to clear it.
Okay, I'm getting rid of the hellos here.
I went through. There's not anything I can see so far.
Okay.
Oh, there's one just came in.
All right, I'm kind of hello from India. Hello. Hello. I'll say hello to everybody who said hello. Okay. Okay. Well, that must be resolution because I can't. It's not translated as something I can read. Hello from Spain. I am really glad everybody's here, especially from overseas, and I hope that you can understand my Texan accent. To be honest with you,
only when you're in your best behavior.
I try to enunciate properly, but you never know.
Speak like an English person, then everybody can understand.
Now, excuse us, folks. We're kind of learning the Google.
Yeah, Google. Yeah, we are
interface.
That's interesting.
There's both a Q&A and a comment section. And if we can keep the Q&A for actual questions for the presenter, that way, one of the others can kind of let the presenter know when there's questions out there. That way,
okay. I've got a question.
Oh,
yeah. As far as we come, can we already create a WSDL and see it?
Now that you've created those functions,
yeah, I think I can. Let me try. Of course, it'll be wrong, but I'll give it a shot. I believe we probably can. Let me save everything out.
You will most probably, but it won't return anything because you've got
it'll be the most useful web
probably
web service ever.
Yeah, you notice that. Okay, just kind of go through this. It's asking you what to include on the web service, which is everything. But you notice that it's only the project code and one of the globals is the only thing it's asking for. And then it says, okay, who gets the access? Well, we're going to do that. And direct setting of functions is what we need. And we'll do this again, so don't overly worry about what we're doing. I'm going to put it up on one of my deals here. Let's see. Okay, I don't have one listed out there, so let me do here. Let me open up one of my other ones while we're talking about here, and I'll get my web stuff put together. I got to get my an export of one of my deals to send it to because I didn't expect to do that. Go ahead, Pete. Talk to him for a minute while I hunt down what I'm looking for.
Yeah, somebody else answered, and just to reiterate, for those of you that are seeing blurry screen, that's all of a function of your connection speed. And in YouTube, you can select quality to adjust that. There's really nothing we have control over here. That'll just be based on your YouTube settings and your quality of your connection itself.
Okay. All right. Just a moment here. I'm opening up one of my other web services so I can extract a setup for it. Sorry. Almost there.
The session is going to be recorded.
Yes, it is being recorded.
Once Andy's done, it will get posted to YouTube. So once we're all done, you know, and however long it takes YouTube to process it, it'll pop up on YouTube. Let's see if Andy held his lips right while he.
That's right.
Everything.
No, we're recording. YouTube's getting this for sure. You know, that part there's kind of automatic. I don't really have much of a choice with it. So it's, you know, I can't. It's a lot harder to mess up that way. But they've changed. Google changed some of the Hangout stuff, and so it made it a little bit different, a little bit strange to get some things done. I guess we can. Okay. So let's look at the WSDL. Let me bring that down here. Okay. So this is the actual WSDL that was created from what we've done so far. Okay. And this is the part that would be imported into, or you would send to anybody that wants to use it. As you can see that what it's done is gone ahead and created all of the types that we can use. You got the member structure with the fields here. As you can see, it's all set up to strings. The order detail is there. The order header is there. And then you can see each one of the different setups for the rest of the types. Okay? So you've got all that. That kind of sets that up for you so you can move forward with it. When you import the WSDL, and since I have this other one, let's see, I need to bring up yeah, I can bring up that one. This is, you know, you get to see this inside your program, or whoever's calling inside your program. I'm going to open up one and show you what an imported WSDL looks like inside your program, so you can kind of get a reference point with it. We don't have anything to necessarily bring that one in. We could probably bring it in, but let's take a look here real quick, and I'll show you what one looks like. This is a web program we use at American Litho. It is a system that we built to run the entire printing operation that's up there. Everything is run for it, so it's fairly large. It's used extensively. And it also has multiple web services in it. Okay, as you can see, there's multiple web services in here. Every one of these, one that has object at the end, is actually from another company called Pace. It's not even a version that we use. I mean, it's not WINDEV. These are all of the functions that we have inside of our WSDL. This is a WSDL we have that I built. And these are all of the functions that were built. So if we're looking at the program that we just started with here, the functions that I got, the fetch members, orders, order header, order detail, kind of equate the same as these fetch, estimating finishing operations, delete job plan, all of these items that are here. The types where I discussed the member structure, the order header structure, and things like this, that is all under types. So there is all of the types. You'll see that there are some in here called response. These are what's generated when you return the data from your procedure that you created. That gets automatically generated for it. But you can see the structures here for job convert, job rec, job type. These are the structures that are created that you would correlate into member structure, things like this as well. And that's what we'll be looking at, or we'll be starting to look at here in another session. Yeah, go ahead.
One note about those types, and Andy and I really figured this out completely last week, because I've been doing projects that it's one project that has your web service and your other app all inside one project. And the thing we found out is somewhere when you're creating that web service, WINDEV WebDev is doing some magic and turning your structure into XML. So these ones that we're looking at in the services are XML versions of your structures. That they're not defined exactly the same as your structures that you declared in your global. It's done some translation to make them XML.
Yeah. So you gotta keep that always understand that you're not dealing with WINDEV standards 100%. The things that you're used to working with WINDEV or WebDev, it is not inclusive to be WINDEV only. You're also dealing with SOAP structure, which is the W3C structures. You have to follow their rules. WINDEV has to follow their rules. So if you think something's broke, more than likely it's not. It is, if you're not getting data back that you think you should get back or something like this, it's usually something you've done because you're not following the rules or the structures necessary to make it work. Is what the difference is.
Yeah, and when you're communicating with the web service, you have to use these structures. Don't declare your own structures or anything.
No, it won't work. No, it won't work that way. It won't work that way at all. So now let's take a look at one that is not WINDEV. This is a Pace. They wrote their own their own structures for doing everything with their product. So they've got a whole set of products over here to run different things and do data. And we imported their WSDL to work with our product. So I've got all of their WSDL, all of their types, and it is significant. They have a lot of different things you can see that we're doing in here. Okay? But this is the one I was talking about that returns no error. You have to hunt down why it didn't return an error. Because they don't, in my opinion, do the structures properly to return any issues. So obviously, I deal with WSDLs quite a bit, and I have to deal with them on basically every other day basis almost. So, but I've learned from what they do and how they do it, and hopefully the ones that I put out are an improvement because of that. because I learn what they need to have, what problems they have. So again, next session we're going to actually go through and start building in the fetch members, the fetch order headers, details, and things like this. And at that point, you will actually be able to take that WSDL and put it into your program, because it will work, because I'll publish it with the return structures. And we're going to go through some tips and tricks on how to do things, because I use SQL a lot. You don't have to. You can use the hyperfile methodologies. We'll show a little bit about that, how you can get into your hyperfile. But I use SQL and I use the cloud quite a bit. So even if you're using hyperfile in SQL, that's fine. If you're using Postgres and SQL or MS SQL or MySQL, one of these different ones, you'll be fine to deal with that and work through those. Okay. Okay, you have a dispatch app per truck. On every truck there's an Android device. The device moves from country to another, and internet on mobile is very expensive outside the country, so it consumes a lot. Yes, this is where I was going back to discussion about going out with data in hand. Okay. When, let's say you have that Android device for a delivery service and it's the next morning, all of the data is going to be on the device before they roll out the door. Okay? Now, if I have to send them a message or I have to send them a change up or something like that, then basically at that point, all I want to do is yes, you can use the push notification to send them a message and tell them to receive, things like this, and go out there and grab it and bring it down. We're not going to use JSON at the moment. That'll come later. They also have REST, which will be out in a later version, probably. So there's no REST in this right now, but we'll deal with the JSON later on. And probably, I would say probably later on this year, since we're doing this on every other time, we'll get into actually generating JSON and things and returning JSON instead. But right now we're going to do XML because that seems to be the easiest for what we do. But what I would do again is on that is make sure that if they're going out with all the data, and if you have to send something to, then yeah, use the push notification, use an SMS message. I've used SMS to send it to it, things like that, as a possibility to wake it up and tell it to go retrieve whatever it needs to retrieve. That's about the best way you can do it. Did you import WINDEV functions made by somebody else? Yes. Yes, I did. That whole section up there from Pace is that's not WinDev or anything. It's actually PHP. If somebody wrote a bunch of web services using PHP, and that's what I imported in. So the thing about it is it's a great communication methodology to allow you to communicate your information to a non-WinDev system. Without exposing your data to them. You're able to control what you're giving them or what you're not from there. Okay. As far as your question again on the dispatch app, I would post that also in the Google Plus group. And then we can have some further discussions about it, okay? And that'll probably help.
Okay. Yeah, and the next question is asking about performance of hyperfile SQL, which really doesn't have anything to do with this webinar, so that'd be another one. Be better, post that over, and let's have a conversation about that in the Google group.
Yeah. The reason why I use the Amazon Postgres for cloud services is because I don't have to maintain the database. They do. They handle it all. and I don't have to deal with it. And it's cheap. So if I'm going to have to deal with the cloud, I'm going to let them handle it. I'm a lazy programmer. I don't have to do everything. So that kind of, unless there's any other questions, as soon as I stop the broadcast, it will start generating the saved webinar for out on YouTube that you can get to and review as often as you can. We will be announcing another webinar to happen in 2 weeks today. Every other week we do a webinar. We'll announce what it will be, whether it'll be part 2 of this or something else from one of the other members. It's fine. We'll let you know, but we'll keep you informed of each one of these sessions as we move forward. Okay. As long as there's another question.
No, I believe that's it.
That's it.
That's it. All I can say is y'all be good or be good at it. Thanks for showing up this morning. I appreciate it tremendously. We'll talk to you later.